So, welcome everybody to Once Upon a Time in London with Harry and Jan and Derek. My name's Harry. I am CEO of Woodstock House. Delighted to be hosting today. And I've got Jan with me. Jan, introduce yourself to the audience if they don't know who you are.
My name's Jan. I'm going to clear this up. It is Jan, but people do call me Jan because of the Scandinavian slant to it. But I've been called all sorts of names as well. So I'm happy with Jan as well.
I get confused between Jan and Jan. Next show, you'll have the proper.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Jan and Jan, suits me. So I'm a network engineer, works in London, work for Universal Technology Solutions, and primarily we're based in the city, but we work on global projects, facilitating network solutions, managed service solutions for our customers.
Amazing. Derek, introduce yourself, please, to the audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek Gardner. So I also work for Universal Business Solutions. I'm also based in London. I have a 20-year history in audiovisual. So I've worked everywhere from corporate buildings to sporting events to theatre. So I've pretty much done a wide spectrum. Yeah.
Amazing.
And Derek, I'm just going to mention that you nearly just didn't make it today, did you?
I nearly didn't. I really didn't.
Me and Harry would have just been left hanging on that one, So thanks for joining.
I'm glad I didn't let you down in the end. I felt really bad, but glad to be here.
Okay.
Cool. Well, just to kick this off, I mean, this show, it's only our second show, so we're learning as we go along. The whole LinkedIn Live thing and comments and stuff. So if you're in the room, if you're currently watching right now, send us a comment. We'd love to see who's here. We're going to kick it off. We're going to always kick this show off with like latest news and tech and what we've been doing. And I'm going to go first. So this week I had the privilege and pleasure of going to so one of my clients, or one of the clients I work with, is called Gymshark, through some of the work that I do with another client called Puberty Group. So I got the chance to go to this new Gymshark store in London, interview the CEO and the CBO, and get like the first tour. They kind of opened it up to 20 journalists, and I rock in as a journalist, which I'm not. And I just literally go around the store, and you walk in, and it's just the most amazing experience, and it's completely different to whatever you expect. And then from a tech perspective, so you walk through the door, the clothes are on rails, obviously, and then they basically lift up into the sky. So basically the shop floor becomes a gym floor in a very quick turnaround space. So literally you can either be shopping or doing a yoga class.
So did they do that? Sorry, Harry, did they do that while you were there? I mean, did they lift it up and down?
Not actually while I was there, because a lady called Becky showed me some images of when they lifted in the air. Because I looked at it and I was like, this is interesting. What is this? Because obviously the way it's framed, there's racking, and you can tell something's going on here. So they showed me a picture, but I went there the following day and the clothes were in the air. And it's funny when you see them in the air, they're almost like ornaments. They're almost like, it's like decoration or curtains or something above you. So it's quite cool. And as you walk through the store, you then suddenly realize it's a gym because they've got weights. They've got like all these areas. And then obviously I was talking to the CEO, and it quickly became apparent that they have built a gym in their store. And they're telling people, their kind of community, their users, go on the app, book a slot, come in, have a free lifting session with our PT, right? Either learn how to lift or get advice, whatever. Then go upstairs and use one of our showers, get yourself changed, refreshed, come back down and grab a juice from our juice bar, grab yourself a t-shirt or have a little gander around, and then chill out and hang out with us. Right. So for me, it's like completely different to probably any other retail experience I've ever seen. And when I was talking to them, I was like, how are you going to make that work? How are you going to...
Because this is on Oxford Street, isn't it? This is on
bang on Regent Street, opposite, Hugo Boss and all the major brands. Like, they've landed. This is their first retail store, and they were an online brand. So for me, it was incredible to watch it and see it. And the most fundamental thing, I think, when I'm talking to this company and Ben and Noel and the people there, it's like they've built this store very experimentally, and they're expecting it to fail. They're expecting things to go wrong because they've taken so many risks, you know. And I'm like, that's the opposite of what other brands do. They're risk averse, aren't they? That we don't
Yeah.
do that. We want to stop it from breaking.
Well,
So
not necessarily. Yeah, we're not necessarily with the intention, but I guess they're a little bit more aggressive with
yes,
their approach, or less afraid, which is not a bad thing. You know, you've
Yeah.
got to push yourself out there.
the
But it's
optimism
good.
is
It's good.
amazing.
It's good risk reward, right? You know, you want to entice people in. You know, we all know, you know, the state of the high street at the moment, and it's really good for them to, I think, be pushing the boundaries there. You know, more
Yeah.
interaction. You know, people, you know, have a reason to attend, not just to shop.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me share my screen actually, because I think
While you're doing that, Harry, what I just want to say is that people are saying that the high street is dead, and also people saying that, you know what, gym memberships are going down, and here they are opening it up on the high street, and obviously with a different slant, but they're also introducing a gym there,
exactly.
which goes against everything, you know, everyone else is doing. So
Exactly. I mean,
And are they video walls at the back there, Harry?
so yeah, so on this screen, this is like, so I put this post together for a page that I help with, and it's called Puberty Latest. It's kind of like the BBC News of on Instagram. And this image that you can see are the clothes in the sky. So they kind of raise up and down. So in that configuration, they're obviously doing a yoga session or some kind of session on the ground. And there's digital screens here. That's actually showing the front of the store. So these screens here go left and right. So they can either have them together as one big video wall, or they can split them
right.
up. And they're on rails, like almost like hangar doors in an
Oh, so they go up and down as well, the screens.
sorry, side to side. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
side to side. Okay.
Yeah, side to side. And on the opposite side, you've got another big video wall. So that's kind of image one, which kind of that really hits you straight away. That's because normally you just have in retail, you've got these fixed spaces that aren't particularly that flexible.
Yeah.
And then obviously they've got this purpose-built gym.
And also on retail, the size you want is always going to be the one right at the top.
Exactly. And then this is interesting. So they talked about the mannequins, and the mannequins, they're 3D printed sculptures of their Gymshark athletes. So they took their athletes, they wanted to create as much representation in the store as possible. So they scanned all their athletes, and then they made them into these 3D figures. So these aren't normal. I mean, normally you just go to I don't know where you go for mannequins, but they had to figure out a way to make these people.
Right.
And that's really, really cool. And they've got them all over the store, this is obviously the gym further in, slightly behind the clothes. And then they've got upstairs again, they've got more flexible.
Oh, wow, that's
space.
quite nice.
Yeah, and that's got an amazing view over.
Was it quite busy?
When I was there for the tour, no, but I managed to go to the VIP. Got a really special invite to the party, and it was busy on the party. They had a VIP kind of party for lots of guests. And they've got this conditioning space as well. And then the great thing is I got to interview Ben and speak to him. I'm going to post this on LinkedIn a bit later and what he said. But for me, the most interesting thing he said was the thing he's passionate about most is the fact that when he started lifting weights, it changed his life. It literally changed his life. And now his mission is to make sure everyone can lift weights. If you're a kid, he wants you to book, come in the store, lift weights, because he thinks it will change your life for the better. And he's scaling that. So basically, when you buy a t-shirt or a Gymshark piece of clothing, that money goes into running that free gym on Regent Street.
But what was it? I mean, you mentioned something that he said to you about their approach, and he kind of termed it.
Reckless optimism.
Yeah, reckless optimism. Yeah,
that's not actually Ben didn't say that. Is Noel, their chief brand.
Oh, okay.
But
right.
Yeah, I actually think I would spin it less reckless and probably relentless is probably the right word. Relentless optimism. And the way I would say it is they're in meeting rooms, right, with this relentless optimism. And they're probably in a lot of meetings where other people aren't as optimistic as they are.
Yep.
And they're pushing through that. You know, people in the room not really with it, and they're pushing through it.
So it's a little bit like this show. We are relentlessly pushing through this. Yeah, you know, no one listening to us, or maybe one or two people, and you know, it's not stopping us, or at least for the second one, we hasn't.
Well, I would say there's actually 11 people listening right now.
Okay, all right.
So if you're liking what we're talking about right now, please put it in the comments so I can say to you, Jan, that you know this show is working, and it's like the people are enjoying the content. But yeah, let us let us know what you think about the Gymshark store. Will you be going? Will you be seeing it?
Very impressive.
So yeah, I'll stop sharing now. But what are you guys been working on?
Yeah, for me, we've been again a busy week looking at some monitoring solutions. So I met up with a company called CPacket, and they've been around quite a long time, and they're experts in monitoring. They have engineered their own chipset which takes a lot of analytics from data that passes through it. So I was sitting with them and just talking about how the two of us we can work together with some clients and provide some informed information. The other thing, it's completely on the other scale, was looking at a cabinet room where people are looking to put some infrastructure in. So getting under the floors, looking at if there's enough electric power, how cables can run, and people overlook that quite a lot sometimes. They have a vision of putting a solution in, and what you need to do also right at the beginning, which is probably one of the biggest problems, is have you got the space? Have you got cooling? And actually, in this instance, they're moving away from a data center into an office space. So they're reducing their data center footprint and coming into the office, whereas their remote offices are scaling out a little bit more. So yeah, doing all that kind of thing. So measuring and stuff like that.
How about you, Derek? Anything interesting this week going on?
So apart from the usual day-to-day AV incident resolution and fun stuff like that, I've actually been looking at app integrations for applications such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, how we can leverage these applications within whatever communication platform that we use to provide businesses value. So for example, your Kanban boards, for example, you can get an application in Zoom now where, depending on which Kanban board you use, you can integrate that directly into Zoom. And just along the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll have a bar that pops up with your screen share and your options. Those applications can show there. And there's various applications, right? There's training applications. There's media applications, which are also quite interesting. So yeah, they've been poking around,
Nice.
having a look and seeing what we could potentially introduce at Universal that might be good for us to.
And obviously you got Jan saying come on the live on Friday as well. That must hit
Yeah,
you. And you must have that. Something unexpected, right? Unexpected.
Yeah.
I thought when he pulled me into the meeting room, I thought he was going to tell me off, but it was a
it was
pleasant
worse
surprise.
than telling off.
It was
put you live on
help.
LinkedIn with a camera. So okay, let's move on to the kind of crux of it. So last week, during our first live, somehow the World Cup came up, and the idea of what happens when everybody starts streaming the World Cup. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen again. So before we go into the tech side of it, I want to know from, I think Jan and Derek are quite football orientated. So I want to discuss with you what predictions of World Cup in terms of who we think is going to win, that kind of thing. So let me share the screen so we can remind ourselves.
What you mean, other than England?
Yeah.
Well, obviously we want England to win.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. We obviously want England to win. Unless anyone in the room doesn't want England to win, just put in the comments if you don't want England to win, because there might be some people.
I mean, I'm torn. You've got England and Iran in the same group.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got your background is Iranian, so
yeah.
But
I think I'm going to go England because I've just never been back and I can't speak the language, so I'll be buggered, on celebration time. Yeah.
I heard, I heard actually, because there's quite a lot of political turmoil in Iran. There were calls for the FIFA president to take Iran out of the World Cup and change them to Ukraine. I saw that article and I was like, wow, that would be controversial.
Yeah, mixing sport and politics is a dangerous game. Yeah,
that's
a bit crazy.
Yeah.
What about you, Derek? What do you think in terms of?
I would love to say England, but I am, I don't want to go with the usual powerhouses. The Frances, the Spains, the Germanys. I think, for me, I think Senegal are going to do really well.
Yeah.
Especially off the back of the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
I think they've got a very solid team. And you know, watching them play in the African Cup of Nations, you know, they seem to have a real unity about them, which I think can take you far, especially in tournament football. So you know, cheeky punt on Senegal, maybe.
I'm gonna stick my neck out, and so semi-finals will be England. I'm not saying who will play who, but say England, Spain, France, and Argentina.
Yeah, again, I'd love to say England, but you got to think they're playing in Dubai.
Well, come on, they made Euros final. Euros final. We've got to go on the back of that.
The weather's going to be extreme out there, right?
They're gonna suffer with the weather.
Yeah,
sure.
we all know how English people cope in the heat. You know, so
Yeah.
it's not great.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of what makes me think Senegal again. You know, warm climates, they're acclimatized. I think fitness levels will be there. And I think once we start getting into the tournament, I think they'll
Well,
grow.
no African countries ever won the World Cup, have they? So, you know, if they've got a shot, then, you know, they could be a really good dark horse, actually, isn't it?
So this is also going to be very, I mean, the last we probably see Messi and Ronaldo, do you think, in the World Cup?
Yeah, for sure.
This is the last one, so it's going to be, you know, emotional. No, come on. I mean, how many World Cups we?
I actually think I think Ronaldo will go the next one. The guy's a machine. He'll just figure out a way. But then whether he gets selected or not, because even now I think there's a little bit of controversy. Portuguese people don't.
I think that's
whether he should be in the team or not, isn't it? A little bit.
I think that's relentless optimism.
Relentless optimism.
I think that one.
So, bringing it back to IT. So the reason we're kind of touching on this is because, you know, on Monday, the 21st of November, right, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so a busy Monday, normal work day, right?
No, that's a work from home day.
A work from home day. Well, normally it's not, but England are playing Iran in their first match, 1 o'clock. So, you know, we started thinking about, imagine everybody up and down the country, all over offices. You know, some offices will probably allow it. They'll encourage their staff to watch it and obviously take an hour, 2 hours off work. Others probably not so much. We don't know. But, you know, even if you stop people trying to watch it, they probably will keep watching or listen to it on the radio. So imagine now the whole office on every single desktop, we're now streaming the World Cup, either on BBC iPlayer or ITV Hub, depending on which broadcaster is going to do it, you know. And then we started thinking about what would happen to the infrastructure. Would it actually work? You know, and that's kind of a question I'm throwing over to you guys, really, as the IT experts.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it does work. People are streaming. It's whether we're doing it, we've got a corporate solution for it in some places. So that's where we've got, people do stream today, but is it efficient way of doing it? Probably not. People, especially around the World Cup, what corporate organizations are going to want to do is avoid people downloading any special apps that could potentially expose them to harm or security breaches that would allow them to do it. You know, everyone's going to be scratching around to try and watch it. So they're better off, you know, some of the larger organizations already have a corporate solution. But now that people are working from home, people are, you know, working in shared office spaces, how can they deliver that more efficiently? Yeah, there's always going to be those small cases where some people don't care, but yeah, those are you know, I'd like to say that, and Derek, you correct me if I'm wrong here, one of the standard solutions would be where you have a media server that streams based on people requesting it in the corporate environment. So it ingests the media, whichever forms of media it is, and people across the corporate infrastructure, usually in a building, they'll have the ability, or firstly, before we talked about individual people, they'll have TVs that are stationed everywhere. You've seen it in buildings, and they'll display it. That's one way. That's a common way people will do it. Yeah. Derek, do you think that's
yeah, so
fairly standard?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. So the standard kind of solution is what we refer to as a digital signage solution. So generally in today's day and age, buildings have all of their screens connected to a network, which would then be managed by a video management system. which is application based. A lot of screens today actually come with these applications built in. So for example, when you buy a TV at home, it often comes with Netflix and Now TV already, embedded within the TV. So you can buy commercial screens that do have specific applications, video management systems, to be specific, in place that can be used to distribute content, as long as the screens are on the network. And secondly, like you said, Jan, again, perfectly correct, is you have media servers, right, where you can feed content to that media server that produces a web link for people to then access that content, right?
Yeah. So, maybe going a little bit more technical, the way that that's also distributed across depending on your corporate infrastructure, could be using like a broadcast, like a multicast service, where information is just fed out and you only request once, and it's efficiently distributed depending on which building or which area you're going to, only once, rather than multiple people requesting the same service and downloading it. So multicast is a common protocol being used to distribute it, but that needs management as well. Again, large organizations, probably this is their bread and butter. Maybe some of the smaller ones don't have it set up in that way. And Derek, what makes, for example, do we kind of go with? I know Cisco probably have a solution that's for larger places.
Cisco have a solution from an application perspective. You have apps such as AppSpace, which is a really good one. A lot of the application-based software can be uploaded to digital media players, which can be attached as third-party devices to screens to receive that content. So in essence, you're putting a device on the back of your screen that you can upload the application to, in order for your video management application to communicate with that screen. There are many video management softwares out there, right? I think AppSpace is probably the leader when it comes to corporate environments, but you've got one called StoryKit, which is quite good. You've also got one called Brid TV, which is also not bad. In my world, how the application runs, is probably the most important thing to me.
Yep.
I think AppSpace have nailed it, especially with the ability to, upload applications to third-party devices in order to,
Yep.
compensate for those, older screens, or, more bespoke screens.
I had a question for you guys about this. Like, so for example, companies, come 21st November, everyone starts watching the game at 1 o'clock. Some companies can handle it because they've got the right infrastructure in place or the right solutions. Someone's thought about it and it's being delivered. Others see terrible user experience, where it's jerky or it's not loading and everyone's panicking and crowding around their phones instead of the TV or the laptop, because they're using their 4G to stream it now. So, in that instance, what would you, and that IT director needs help now because the CEO said to them, why isn't it working?
No, he's at the pub watching the game.
Yeah, very much so.
so the CEO is getting complaints right in the pub, and he messages the IT director saying, why isn't this working? IT director goes, holy moly, I need help.
No, you know what? That is not an uncommon place to be, because it highlights it.
Yes.
And this is one of the things we talked about, is that it started to highlight. World Cup's coming up. Obviously, no, this never happens during the cricket because no one watches cricket or rugby. Yeah. So they're non-sports. Yeah. But World Cup, big events like that. So they start, and it's this that kicks it off. And so all of those things.
What would your approach be, Jan? What would it, you and Derek have been rolled in, right? Someone said, okay, you guys are the best of the best to make this fit, to get to fix this quickly. How would you go about it?
Well,
what were the first kind of things you were thinking about?
Firstly, there's obviously going to be a tactical solution for it. If you're in a situation where, do you know what, we need to get this up and running now, it has to be tactical, because you're not going to get a chance. Because the real way to do it, like we've done here, we started to talk about it, and when I've spoken to Derek about it, is going back to design and principles. That's always the best place to start. Yeah. And that will see you through. Yeah. because then you can start talking about whether it's TVs you want to display on, or whether it's, because what we didn't mention is, people in rooms or in their actual, on their desk, they don't want to keep turning around at the TV. Yeah, they want to see it on their desk. So what is the solution for that? Now we've got to start. So there's a whole product suite for this, probably, that you'd have to look at as part of that design phase and corporate
That was
solution.
interesting, actually, because you went in that way. You went principles of the business, then user experience.
Oh,
what's
yeah,
best for the user. And now, okay, now we understand what we want users to do or what's good for them. Now let's get the product set for it.
Yep.
It's quite interesting.
I mean, before I go on to it, the next part of the tactical is, we didn't touch on monitoring, because this is a very much and Derek, maybe you've got a view on this, and I was thinking about this, is that, yeah, I love delivering a solution, but how do we always look at how we measure it and how we can monitor it? Now, media, on a lot of applications, people call up and say, the circuit's down, or this or that. It could be related to packets dropping or something like that. We're used to that. On media, I was thinking, apart from someone saying, I'm getting a crackly screen, or it's fuzzy, or how can we actually measure it? What are the things we use to measure it? So we can't have someone just sitting there constantly watching it. It's actually measurable data.
So this goes back to what I feel is a quite underdeveloped part of most applications provided to corporate environments, right? It's the reporting, the data, the setup and config. So, for example, let's take an IPTV system into play. So you've got your encoder. You're using app space to run that. Within app space, you'll be able to pull certain metrics, right, from that. But when you start getting into the world of media servers, it's very difficult to monitor who consumes that content, right? So
but what about how well it's being visually displayed?
Well, as in, how much bandwidth you're using?
Not bandwidth, but say, for example, so for example, the quality is usually a user experience, but how can we measure that quality?
I think at the moment, you can't really, right? From the applications or the web GUI of the media server, you can only really see what you're sending, right? Yep. So there's really no way to gauge each user experience other than visually seeing what they're receiving. Wow. Right? Well, there are third-party things you can use to track it, Wireshark being one of them. But then you're getting into the realms of using third-party applications to potentially troubleshoot network issues. It's not an ideal all-encompassing solution, right?
I was thinking maybe one of the things is, because it relies a lot on a clean data path, maybe the data transmission rates can be measured, so that, because obviously if you get a gap, that's going to cause a problem. I suppose there is some type of buffering that happens anyway, but maybe that's one thing, that as long as you get a steady stream consistently, if that can be measured, that's one performance metric. That, do you see what I'm saying? Those kind of things. It's not actually looking at it visually, but those type of analytics that we can take to say.
And those analytics are usually based around the application, so the limitations of the application. For example, Zoom. You can pull up your Zoom dashboard. On this call right now, we can look at Jan's audio latency, Jan's video latency. If we're sharing content, what the bit rate is for that. It's very limited from the application perspective. I find in 90% of the applications that I use, and especially in today's world, people working remotely, it is a much more app heavy world, right? So I do think that is an area that does need a lot of improvement.
Just for everybody that's listening in or just joined late, we're talking about the World Cup, and how at 1 o'clock on November 21st, everyone's going to be streaming it on their phones while they're at work, or potentially trying to find a screen at work, which everyone gathers around. And it just hit my mind that when you go to a hotel and they're kind of beaming the game to all the different bedrooms, and it's interesting because you can go from room to room to room to the bar, And you're right, the quality is going to be different on those screens because, like you said, there's nothing really measuring the output apart from the user seeing it.
Well, I mean, there are, and look, I know we're coming up to half past. Actually, didn't expect it to take that long, but there are tools to do it. I mean, I know I've jumped onto AppSpace before the view, and actually, you can actually it does has a representation of the actual view as well.
Okay, got you.
But yeah, look,
it does come with a prerequisite there to say that it might not be very accurate.
yeah,
Okay, got you. Disclaimer.
yeah.
Disclaimer.
But look, we didn't get to the tactical. I mean, but the tactical fix, possibly, if it was something we wanted to distribute, I'm just thinking off the top of my head now, maybe something like a VBrick type solution where we can actually consume once, but then send out, so that at least we're saving on, say, our internet bandwidth, which is usually one of the things that gets hit big time. But I don't know, Derek, that's just off the top of my head. He's put me on a spot there. I'm sure we'll get around it.
I think multicast is definitely the way to go,
yeah.
Right? Rather than having individual consumers reach out to that content on a device by device basis, we want to be able to, you know, group and, you know, be more efficient, I think is the approach.
One thing I think to just wrap up would be, you know, if you're in an IT company watching the game and it goes wrong, you know who to talk to now. You know who to reach out to. Because, you know, how long to take to fix? A day? A week? 2 weeks? What would
After
you say?
the game. After the game.
After the game.
Yeah, after the game. We'll be with you. Yeah.
I was going to say also that obviously we're doing these LinkedIn lives every week, and me and Jan are thinking of topics. So next week we're likely to do one on resourcing. You know, resourcing amazing network engineers. How do you resource them? How do you retain them? Not just if you're in a company, but even if you're running an IT business as well, or a managed service. So that's going to be really cool. We'll have a special guest for that too. And equally, if you guys have any topics that you would like us to cover or like us to chat about, just put it in the comments, DM myself or Jan, and we'll do some thoughts and put it forward. But yeah, we want to keep this kind of weekly thing going, and hopefully it gets better and better week by week.
Thanks, Derek.
I think you've hit a peak, guys, today.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Yeah, thanks a lot, Derek.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That was really good. It was really, and maybe,
awesome.
You know what, we bring Derek back on because we didn't even get to Zoom, Teams, you know, massive solutions. And it, you know, he's one of the experts on that. So it'd be good to bring that back.
Let's do that. Awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot, Harry.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Harry.
Derek. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.